Cool, well I'll start, and thank you everyone for coming along anyway. So yeah, I was asked to do this, and I know it's for citizen geographies, which I didn't do, so I don't have much knowledge about the subject. So what this presentation is mostly about my background from Cardiff, how I feel Cardiff developed me into the person I am today, as it were, and then what I do for my job now. But then you can, if you want the conversation to go in any particular direction for any work you've got to do, I'm more than happy to go in that direction for a little bit and come back to the PowerPoint so we can all do it in whatever order you want. So we'll start, if this works. So my background, I did the IB at school, and with the IB at school, failed it, and then the reason why I've done this is because I made this slide, and this is the best one I've ever made. Pete Mackey let me in with a failed IB, and so Pete Mackey's my bro. So, but yeah, so I started Cardiff, and first year I didn't really get along very well, did I? No. I wanted to drop out, and I was almost going to drop out until I found out I just passed my exams with 44%. And then the second half of the year picked up a bit, and started to enjoy it a bit more. And then eventually in year 2 and year 3 got onto the staff student panel and all that stuff, and really enjoyed myself. And then I graduated last year. Lovely photo. So with geography, I work in IT distribution now. So everyone goes, I always have the people who ask me, and I always had it even through uni, oh, where are you going to go with geography? Why are you doing geography? All those kind of questions, and I'm sure you guys get them as well from some people. Do you get the, where are you going to go with geography? Yeah. And I, throughout uni, never really knew what I wanted to do. I never had a clear pathway set for what I wanted to do as a job. I initially thought I'd be a teacher, but then again I kind of didn't want to do that at the same time, so I was kind of torn between the two, so I kind of left it late to decide, and I actually left until I finished all my coursework in year 3, and then I decided to apply for jobs in what I thought I could do well in, which is sales in IT. Oh, I missed a bit. So how did human geography shape my career? So I know you're in your second year, but I think the great thing about what Cardiff offers is the amount of different ways you can be assessed, especially with John Anderson and those kind of things. So talking to people, presenting, being confident around people has allowed me to, I have meetings with people who are like directors of multi-million-pound companies, and if I didn't do any of that at uni and didn't have any experience with talking to people up front, or in front of a large crowd, you know, it was mostly your peers, but still, you still know what it feels like. You still get a bit nervous, even presenting in front of your friends. So lots of experience with that builds your confidence up, just to have those kind of meetings with people who you don't know. Also, being a graduate, they hired Exertis, who I work for, hired graduates for the main reason they thought that I would be a bit more proactive than anyone else. So initially, telesales, you can get anyone on the phone, ringing numbers up, asking if they want something. But they didn't want to go that way. They wanted people to actually do their research, pick out specific customers that we found, and then go for them and see if we can win business that way. And I was the second tier of students who went through that scheme at Exertis. And so we started with 0 accounts, 0 money. And in March just gone, a team of 9 of us made about £50,000 profit for the company. So they've considered it a bit of a win. But with geography, I mean, I don't know about you guys, you always kind of feel, I think geography students always like to make the world a bit of a better place, always feel like they want to have a nice effect on other people. I don't know if, I always felt that, I always felt like I don't want to be some kind of machine. But I am that at this job, it is what I am. So it is hard for me being in that environment, but at the same time, where I am now, I do have a career path I can see where I can go. So I've talked about my company a little bit. I've got a YouTube video that was made by the company a few years ago. So I've called it Exertis. We are Exertis, however, I'm walking the wrong way, walk this way anyway. We were Exertis, but then we have changed names from Exertis Micro P, so that's what the YouTube video says, although just ignore it. So this is just to give you a flavour of, oh, it hasn't loaded, hopefully it loads.
Micro P has grown from 250 million to $1 billion in the last 5 years.
There is an inherent dynamism at Micro P, and everyone here works with an entrepreneurial spirit, and that does engender new ideas, and it keeps us relevant to both our customers and our vendors.
Micro P has a fantastic can-do attitude that really sets us apart from our competition.
We've got a fantastic reach of B2B customers. It's about 9,000 resellers will trade with us in a year.
Ranging from big retailers such as Amazon down to independent retailers, from large corporate resellers like Computer Centre down to small IT operators.
So we have a good understanding of our market, the people have a good understanding of our culture and what Micro P stands for within the UK.
In terms of our commercial structure, we have dedicated product business units with an army of planners, product specialists and product managers who give first-class support to our salespeople and customers. The commercial focus helps drive our knowledge, stock management, proposition and more importantly our voice in the marketplace.
I think resellers should choose Micro P as their distributor because Micro P is one of the longest established distributors with the expertise that comes from over 30 years of experience.
We're very fleet of foot, we react quickly, and that really single-handedly is why we win a lot of business today from our competitors.
We handle over 10,000 calls on a daily basis. Over half of those are outgoing proactive calls. We're frequently getting told by our manufacturing partners that we're the most proactive distributor in the UK.
We've built our business on long-term relationships. We believe we're nothing without this.
We look to grow our customers' business by introducing new products, new solutions and new technologies to them at all times.
At Micro P we're all about value-added services. Our professional services team are now working together to offer a fantastic joined-up message across a number of technologies spanning networking and comms, server and storage, and AV solutions.
We have a huge range of products, solutions and services, and we're the only distributor offering networking, mobile devices and communications in one lineup. We've got over 22,000 products across more than 150 suppliers. We don't force you onto the web, you can talk to us, and more importantly, we know what we're talking about.
Our flexibility, drive and committed sales force has seen us become the #1 leading distributor for most of our vendors.
So what really differentiates Micro P in this industry is its people, its culture and its can-do attitude.
So I'm office-based in Basingstoke and I'm on the sales team. So with that, I was brought in to do acquisition, as I was saying, like bringing bringing acquisition, and from there it went from bringing in small accounts, like small resellers who you see down the Cardiff streets who try and sell the old TV and whatnot. So I started contacting them and introducing yourself cold. So it's kind of a hard job, especially because most calls they don't want to hear you, but then some calls you actually got through and you have a nice conversation. And it's about building relationships, which is again the part I was coming to earlier. Like Cardiff's really helped you with that because of all the stuff that we do here. So being in the sales environment, I think the reason why I'm touching on this is because I was told that it is employability and we want to see where people have gone with this degree. So this is quite short, but just bear with me. So the sales environment is very dog eat dog, and it's kind of not the most pleasant environment to be in, especially for me to start with. Has everyone seen the film Wolf of Wall Street? It's very much like that in there. Everyone's quite, I wouldn't say selfish, but they just care about them and how much money they can get at the end of the day and earn. So I'm targeted. I have to pay for my seat and I have to have a reason to be there. So the downside of this job is that it's quite stressful because you always have to make sure you are not wasting the company money. So I'm targeted. I'm just going to quickly take you through this. I see this every day. It's like the bane of my life. So the top box, this long one, is my days of selling, broken down into what's called a start month daily, which is basically the amount of money I have to make every day to hit my month's target. So when I started the job, my target was about £2,000 a month. So I had to make about £200 every so often, and then I'll tend to do that. So I had to make £100 a day to start with. And I was one of a few just to hit that target. It was really hard, and 2 of us got fired before Christmas, so it is quite horrible. So then in March, because it's the end of the financial year, we had our stretch targets, because we have to hit a company budget by the end of the financial year. It's what the company needs to do to grow. So my target did start at 4,700 quid, which I've never made that much money. And then 1 week in, I already had done that. So then they said, okay, we're going to put your target to 9 grand. And then I actually finished up making 11 grand. So they were quite pleased with that. So it was hard. I mean, you're on the phone the whole day, and every day you've got a story after work, but it was good because you get a lot of benefits from doing that. As it is a private organisation, they've got money to throw back at you, basically. I'm also targeted on how many people I trade with a month, so I traded with 40 individual accounts. I made 6.9% average margin on everything I sold, which is IT. And then, I started this. Freight, we have to cover our freight, and we have to actually hit 100%. I absolutely fucked up that month and gave away quite a lot of freight for free, and lost the company 712 quid. But because I made so much, they weren't that bothered. But yeah, so going down to the bottom, how my role has changed, and does my job allow me to become an ideal citizen? This is something that I was asked to talk about very quickly. So at the start, cold calling, it wasn't great, but now my role's changed, so I have to develop business within print management solutions. So there's a marketplace for that. I have to, at the moment, Exertis have what, 1%? They want me to get 50%. Last month I managed to get that for 25%, so it's going in the right direction. But in that business, to be an ideal citizen, I don't know what you guys, what the ideologies are and whatnot, but you have to feel kind of that you're making a good difference. I don't always feel that way. I always feel calling people, you know, you just don't want that kind of job. So now I have to go out and meet them and actually do want to do business and do good. But this is coming on to the next step, I believe, which is how the company makes me a good citizen. So the company itself is actually quite good, even though its sole aim is to make more money. We do have these following things, which I think are quite relevant. So dress down days for charity. Simple thing, but at the end of the day, for Comic Relief, we raised about 2.5 grand just by not coming in a suit. And having days like that, we have them every probably month. And we have 2 charities, one's for leukemia and the other one's for children, and building a school in Africa. So that the company, you know, do have a good intention of making not just the UK a better place, but the world. The restructuring of business. Now, with citizenship, I know I was talking with a few of this earlier, I always thought, you know, just pay your taxes, don't break the law, do all this, but apparently you've been learning something a bit different, a bit wild and wacky. But with distribution, you're going to have a big carbon footprint. You're going to have lorries going all around the country, especially because we have about 10 warehouses all over the UK and three offices for sales teams. So product managers have to travel between all of these every day. So the footprint is pretty massive. So they're restructuring the company now to have one warehouse up in Oldham, so kind of in the middle if you take Scotland on board and Wales. So they've strategically placed that. And they are doing that for the sole reason to reduce the carbon footprint of that. So I think that's a good reason, A, to work at a company that does actually care, although sometimes for me I don't feel I get the benefit from that. But as a geographer who understands the bigger picture, you know, it does make you have a little messy on the side. This bit, something I want to talk a little bit about, just because it's just some advice, I think. So it was, well, my first day, it's quite a big company, so the sales floor is probably twice the size of this, and you've got banks of desks of big guys with expensive suits on the phone shouting, yelling every day. And I come in there, fresh out of uni, I didn't have a clue how to fit in that place. And, you know, citizenship's about belonging, feeling like you belong to that place. So there were 9 of us who started the same job, and we just didn't know what to do. For the first month or so, we had a them and us situation where they wouldn't talk to us, and we definitely didn't want to go talk to them because they were very big and very scary. So I was thinking, well, how am I supposed to get anywhere in this place if I don't have any contacts who can help me, who isn't my manager, because my manager's not going to be there the whole time. And another guy obviously had the same idea, but he didn't go about it the same way as me. So his idea was to be like this. Hi, I'm Scott. Hi, I'm Scott. And he told everyone his life story every day. I'm Scott. And everyone got pissed off with Scott. Just because it's just not how it works. So I was sitting there and I was like, ah, man, please stop, because you're going to give us, our team, a bad name. So, and no one else really wanted to join in. So I started talking to like product managers and stuff like that, and finding reasons to talk to people for good reasons, like if I actually genuinely needed help, not introducing myself for the sake of introducing myself. I mean, that's just because of the workplace I'm in and the people I was there, but I would definitely recommend, in whatever business you start, get to know everyone, the receptionist, everyone, in the nicest way you can, because it just makes work a lot nicer and a lot easier, especially when one of us ordered something that came from Amazon that got delivered to work but forgot to put their name in it, and because the receptionist, you know, he didn't have a relationship with the receptionist, he emailed it out to everyone and he got absolutely torn into about it, even though it's just a parcel. But you know, if you feel those things, it just makes work, especially in an environment where it is very dog-eat-dog, a lot easier. And with going back to citizenship in the workplace, was it you guys who were saying about that earlier? I was thinking about my probation the other day. So my probation is 6 months. I don't know if you can like build on this or think about anything, but is that kind of, you know, a test to see if you are actually the kind of citizen they want in that kind of environment? Because remember, 2 of us got fired within 6 months just because they didn't fit the mould, and the rest of us passed probation fine. But I'm not saying this in any way, but because it's a sales environment, the 2 people who got fired were both girls. And it was absolutely ridiculous because they weren't getting the same numbers as the boys. So, you know, I reckon there is quite a lot of geography you can apply to that, especially in the sales role, just because probation was that brutal for the first 6 months, which kind of feels absolutely weird. It doesn't feel like it for the first 6 months. That might be a piece. I don't know if you want to talk about that more. I mean, I've just about what I think. And then, how has working life, and particularly my current role, changed my expectations and application of good citizenship? Right, so apart from the basics of I do pay my tax, I don't murder people every day, stuff like that. I do have a weird sense of responsibility now. Being a student, going to bed at 2, waking up at 10, and then now going to bed at 10, waking up at 6. You know, you do feel like you're contributing to society in a weird way. And one weird thing I found is, with the current election coming up, I always thought, no, I'm just telling you the truth, I always thought, no, I'm never going to vote. I don't have that kind of, you know, I don't really know, I don't really get into it. But since having my job, weirdly I've got into politics quite, not loads, but enough to think I'm definitely voting in May. So I know you should vote anyway, but you know, there's this one thing that I think having a responsibility and a full-time job It does make you feel kind of a bit more responsible. But as I said, this is a presentation I made quite quickly. So I think that's almost, if not the end. So I don't know what I was really supposed to cover apart from what I do. That is basically what I do. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions about anything, what I do, to anything that you want in your work that I can possibly give you a perspective on. You look like you've got a question.
I'm thinking of wording it.
I'll fix it. How did you find the transition from university to job? Because obviously some people decide to stay on and some people leave after undergraduate. And how did you find the transition?
I found the transition really quite simple and easy. I didn't really know what to expect, and I didn't even really know if I made the right decision leaving university, because I was also playing with the idea of doing a master's degree. But I got my CV out there, and it came out so fast. I think I got the job before I graduated, so I finished uni, got the job, graduated, then started my job. So before I knew it, I was kind of like, I've got to really concentrate on my job and not mope about my Cardiff days are over. So I got into the swing of it really quickly. I drive 2 hours a day, and it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like I've always done it. So the transition between university, you know, you do miss like Wednesday afternoons and seeing the sun more and having a nice time, but at the same time you kind of get to enjoy yourself a little bit more on the weekends, because what precious time you have when you're not working, you tend to try and enjoy a little bit more. Yeah, so I don't think the transition's hard. I know for some people who went to university and then got a job, just for some reason took a while to get used to. I think it depends on where you are and your attitude, because another guy lives right by work, and I don't know how this works. So I live over 50 miles away from work, and he lives round the corner, and I'm always in before him, and some days he's late. Like, how can you be late to your job where you live round the corner? But he just hasn't got out of student mode yet, but he's always on his phone, you know, he's always... So, I think it just depends on you, but you might be able to... It depends on what job you get to as well, I guess.
Because you said you see where your path is going. Is it with the same company?
Yeah, so as I've said, with the part I do now, so the managed print solutions, I've got to do the 50% market share, that's what they want. So even though I don't get the sales benefit I did from March and February, what it does do is allow me to build a career and a reputation for myself in that company and within distribution, because it is quite a close-knit group of companies, and everyone looks out for everyone. So people who work with me work for our competitors, and our people who work with us go work for competitors. Once you're in distribution, it's kind of strange, because people just jump around doing similar jobs in different places and then moving up a step, going around, moving up a step, and that's the way it's been for quite a lot of people I know. So I definitely see my career in this kind of distribution world, because there are a lot of places to go and a lot of roles to be filled that don't have a long time of people fulfilling them, and people swap jobs every kind of 2 years in distribution, and even though it's not great, because every 2 years you need a refresh of, if you've got someone doing an important role, let's say buying in stock, and they know the purchasers and everything like that, it makes the job a lot easier. And when you've got someone new, then you have that period of buildings. But I do see it being with Exertis, because again, I'm one of those guys who I find quite loyal. So if people give me the opportunity, I'll probably stick with them, unless I have a reason to leave. But then at the moment, they're definitely not giving me a reason to leave, and they're giving me more reasons to stay, if anything. So yeah, and definitely in the IT world as well. So eventually I would kind of like to go up to a pure business development manager, where my job is to just go to customers who have the opportunities, build those relationships, and then that's where the bigger opportunities are. And then eventually, I'd like to be a director or something like that. But those are the big dreams. But definitely along those lines. Yes.
Do you feel the group work that we did during our degree has helped you in your kind of face-to-face relationships with clients?
Thank you, Nick.
And student ambassador.
Yeah, I do. With the group work that we do, you always have to have a good team, as it were, around you, and people who you trust and people who you know are going to pull their finger out and do the job that you need doing. Sales is a lot like that. You're in a team where you fend for yourself, but you have a whole team of other people behind you doing what you need as well for everyone else. So you need to build and trust a lot of people very quickly to try and, you want what you need doing done quickly. And from where I am, because I'm weird in where I work, because everyone is so horrible. I'm actually quite nice compared to everyone else, so people are going to point me out for being weirdly nice. So, yeah, it has helped, and it just makes building relationships with important people a lot easier. And I'm pretty sure all of you know, if you were asked to do group work, would you rather choose your own groups, or would you rather be appointed groups? Choose. Yeah, because you know who pulls the finger out, who you like in your team. And, at the end of the day, that's a very important kind of trait to have. If you can recognise what people can bring to the table, that's a benefit that you can bring to a company, especially in more responsible roles.
Yeah.
How do you choose when you don't know the people?
Now, you have to rely on other people then. Again, it's all very strongly networked, but you tend to, I always tend to go with people who have got a track record of doing something that's worked in the past, or, if I've heard something good. Because even though the company is a big company, and last year we did over £2 billion turnover, this year we've grown another 22%, but the numbers aren't in yet because it's been audited and whatnot. So the company looks massive on paper, but for employees, we do have a fair few employees, about 2,000 employees, but you only see the same faces every day. So there are, from where I work, but then you've got the people in the warehouse, you've got the people who do all the credit assessment and taking up car payments and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, if you don't know the person, it's not the biggest issue in the world, because you're hoping they've got the job and they're there because they can do a good job anyway. And as I said, if they don't do a good job, then chances are they don't last long.
In terms of your business being a good citizen, have you, you do small companies and bigger companies. Do you treat the small companies with a bit of an advantage at all?
Yeah, so because of my two different roles, I actually went through a hybrid phase of looking after my accounts that I bought on from the cold calls to looking after these accounts that had millions of pounds worth of credit with us. And company structure is a weird thing. So with the bigger companies, I'm always talking to sales guys and purchasers. But with smaller companies, I'll be talking to directors and different, all these kind of different names and titles are bombarded at me. And how do I talk to these people? If I'm talking to Bob the director and Bob the sales guy, they've got two different titles, but in different companies, Bob the sales guy probably has more power and can decide to spend more money than Bob the director, because Bob's always thinking about his, I've used the same name, be more original. He's always conscious of his money. He's always going to have that think of thought, should I be doing this? But whereas someone in a bigger company, if they've got a bigger pot, you might just take the risk of just doing it like that. But no, I don't tend to talk to anyone differently. I tend to have kind of like a quite chatty relationship, as I'm sure you can imagine. Some people are straight to the point with money. I'm definitely not that. And I was pulled into a meeting saying, well, we know you get along with them, but we had a guy who did this, but he never got any business and he just made no money, even though he had great relationships. So I was like, well, they had no evidence to say I wasn't making the money, but I was having a good relationship. So yeah, I have good relationships with people and still bring in the business. So I think it's a good benefit to have. It's something that I offer differently from other people on the team, because other people on the team are just straight up to the point and don't really know the person they're talking to.
Because you want to go up, would you think about, because you don't have the power to do it at the moment, sort of thing.
Sorry?
You don't have the power at the moment to do it, but if you want to move up and become more powerful, do you want to treat the small businesses, help them more, so give them a better deal or something like that?
That's always been the case, especially with our team, because in our business, because we sell to Amazon and the bigger companies, right to the little ones, we do have a trait to destroy our own markets. So if eBuyer say, oh, we're going to buy loads of these, for example, webcams, we'll give them a discounted price, and then the small guy can just go, I can get them on eBuyer for there, why can't you give me that price? So there's always that kind of conflict of us kind of hurting ourselves. People in that kind of position where we can offer them a better discount and treat these smaller companies to make more money, which is at the end of the day why they're in their business. We do try and help them, but again, we can't always do it because at the end of the day, it's in our company's interest to make a better return. So if we give £3 away, we want to see X amount come back more, but it's always a bit difficult.
I was interested in the slide that said you lost money on freight.
Yes.
Explain how you lost money on freight.
So in my team, so every team's got different targets. So the big general teams where they have very large accounts, they tend to lose freight because that's how they win the business. It's that they get a better return offering them no freight, otherwise they'll just go somewhere else. They'll go to
So no shipping costs.
Yeah, no shipping costs. So
am I right in thinking that you were a bit over generous in giving too much freight away?
so this is where I was in my transition phase of having little accounts and big accounts. So this is where my printer management job came in. So the day I lost a lot of freight on the third day in is the day I made £3 grand. So it was a risk worth taking. Even though my boss was quite annoyed with me because he's always had a record of keeping up freight, but the risk was just worth it because that day, I don't know if you can easily tell, but see the line graph at the top, the biggest green point. That's the day I lost all the freight. So I had to give away free shipping for that. And that cost just over 500 quid. But otherwise he would have gone elsewhere.
So you weren't being generous, you were just being sensible with...
Yeah, well, I had to do it, otherwise I wouldn't.
You made more money than you lost.
Yeah. I wouldn't have made the money if he said I would have gone elsewhere, so I had to do it. Again, there are some days I made negative money just because with the smaller accounts, for example, if they can get it cheaper elsewhere, I'm targeted on traders, so I need to get their business to. If I don't get traders, I get docked my commission, 10%. So I have to give them something to buy from me to help me. So again, it's selfish, but it looks good for them. So yeah, I have to give freight away some days to try and get traders. So it's a bit of a battle of what would be the best. But that month, I had a very good month. I weren't too bothered about losing £712 when they got £11,731 back.
Prior to you getting this job, what kind of, did you do a lot of placements, work experience, internships, like extracurricular stuff throughout obviously years at uni and just before going in, or?
Yeah, so I'll start with work. So work, did a few work experience places at schools. I did a primary school in London, which I absolutely loved, even though I thought, maybe I don't want to be a primary school teacher. But I did do that. And then I got a job when I thought I failed IB, because there was a time difference of finding out I'd actually got into university and failing the IB. So I thought I was going to university. So I got a job at a warehouse, and I did that for a month then, and then I did it in the summers between university, because at the end of the day it was quite easy money and got Friday afternoon off, so I just did that. With like geography experience or jobs which the degree was irrelevant, I wouldn't say I did anything particularly. Why are you making that face?
I seem to remember you were a student ambassador for the school.
Okay, this is outside of Cardiff University term times. But while I was at Cardiff, I was an ambassador and I did all those kind of cool...
I was just wondering, just extracurricular in general, so to get a job at this position as well, so...
Yeah,
it's been a likeable candidate.
I didn't do anything too crazy. I mean, to get this job, it was an assessment day, so there are 35 people there, and I got called the night before to go there, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. People found out 2 weeks in advance, and we had to do a 3-minute presentation, and I got there, and that night it was Argentina versus Germany in the World Cup. What do I want to do? Prepare for a job interview or watch the World Cup? I watched the World Cup, went to bed. Went there completely kind of... It was my first job interview, so I thought I'd just use this one as my dad said to me, Rob, just use this one to get experience. It's not going to get it. Just see what they ask you, go around, have a nice time, come back, and then the next job you might get. So as I was the last one there, I was the last one on the list. They said, don't bring your CV, we're going to have it here already. Got there, they didn't have my CV. They had it was a right palaver with me. I was a right pain in the butt for them, I'm sure. And I was always last on the list, so they went around a whole group of people going, who's your role model? And so every role model was said, and when it came to me, like, I've got no one left. So I think I said I'll be Walter White from Breaking Bad. So, so I was a drug lord. But I justified it somehow, I can't remember exactly what I said. And then we had assessments throughout the day, basically how you work well in the team. And at the end of the day, they took us into some rooms and told you if you the job or not. And they told me I had. I was kind of like, so you haven't even seen my CV, but yeah, you give me a job. But yeah, it was good. And actually I scored the highest marks in the day for some of the team activities. So none of it was really... You didn't need knowledge for this, you didn't have to ask, you didn't have to answer any tough questions, it was just how you react around other people and how you react in situations. The typical ones were, you're this person, you're this person, you're this person, you're on a sinking boat, you can save two of you, who are you going to save and why? So you had to justify if you had to live or die. Another one was you had to prioritise 15 pieces of equipment if you crashed in a desert. I mean, that's quite popular. I don't know if you guys have seen that before. But when there's 6 of you arguing over this, how you prioritise it, there was some people on my team who I was quite tolerant with them, but some people were so trying to like be overpowerful, trying to show off, as it were, to all these assessors, and always trying to make themselves known, always trying to make themselves heard. That's not the way to go. That's the way to kind of think, this guy's too bossy, this guy's going to always want to take the lead, he won't listen to other people. So he didn't get a job, but, you know, I don't know why I did that day, but for some reason they offered me it, but I'm not going to complain. But yeah, assessment days, they're good fun. But definitely, do you know when people say, just be yourself? And like everyone goes, oh yeah, that's obvious. Like, it really is that simple. Don't try and be someone who you're not otherwise, because you can tell the people who are not being themselves, and it's really odd to see someone who you don't know they're not acting the way they normally do, but you kind of don't worry about them in the end. Yeah. Anything else? No.
Oh, I have a tougher question.
Oh no.
Of course, John.
Cool.
Now, this module is talking a lot about ideal citizenship, and we have all this kind of, some kind of role model of doing good, maybe environmentally or socially or some other way. Now, in that company you say they do some charity activities, etc. Do you think, are you given, you know, an opportunity to make active suggestions, or does it come from the top, or, you know, do you have, as an employee, you know, a way to promote certain things, to maybe put your stamp on activities? I know you're, you know, just at a starting level, so you can't make a big corporate decisions, but...
A very good question. With the charity events and all the fun-looking kind of trips to Africa where you're building a school, the only pictures you see are the directors having a jolly old time, and we don't get to really have any say in it. Thinking about it, all they do is say you can come in and work wherever you want and pay £2, and we'll go off and make the difference. So yeah, if I have a say in it, I wouldn't say I do. You're kind of told if you want to participate or not. So, and most people do, otherwise you just look like the loser in the suit on non-union day. But, you know, yeah, it's definitely from above, and all the PR is at the high level, so it makes the company in the public eye look like, oh, these guys, you know, they're taking time out of their busy day of playing golf to, you know, help these. But, you know, I don't get much to say. But.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you say it's 2 billion turnover, but that doesn't say much about profit. 2,000 roughly employees. Do you know about the profit margin?
I don't know. I know that they like to tell us how we do. £2 billion of turnover. I do know that they do make a lot of profit, and every year it's going up. So they're expanding. So they brought me on, and with a whole team of us. You know, that's a heavy investment.
Right. So, do you feel like a schooling project in Africa paying off the conscience?
Not particularly. I feel like, well, how do I do feel it is good. I do feel the company should be doing that, and I feel that it is great that it is. And you know, they do have that kind of base to do it. But then again, when you think about how much like profit do make, why do we still have to pay £2 for non-uniform day? So, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, but I want to know now where the pots of money lie and where they're distributed into wages, into making the company more streamlined, and into that little charity pot. But I don't know. I don't think I ever will know until you get to the highest levels of in the company.
Did it spark any more questions? No? In the back? No? You're all keen to go out? Really think about, you know, corporate responsibility. I mean, you said you moved the distribution center into the middle of the country for reducing sort of freight costs, probably carbon footprint. But do they do anything else? Do they sign up with, I don't know, green power, or do they have any other ecological things that they do?
Not at the moment, no. And also, it is down to each kind of sales guy for how they manage the deliveries. Because our warehouse works, a lorry rocks up and goes to another depot where it's all sorted. So there are a few accounts which order about 20 things throughout the day. I have one of those accounts, and I don't ship until 5:30. I wait until all the orders are in and then ship them out, because otherwise all these orders are going
piece by piece,
and eventually ending up in the same place. I've had orders on the same day arrive from 2 different lorries at 2 different times of the day. I'm just thinking, why is that happening? And then I did realise it's because, you know, when you place the order, it's how far down the line it goes to be delivered. But if you do it all at once, it tends to arrive in one piece. But then again, in the bigger picture, everything else is being distributed anyway. So if it's all going to the depot, it's basically up to UK Mail as to where they go. Because once it's in their sorting depot, then it's up to them. But I try and keep it all in one piece.
Do you know where the equipment's made and where it's from? Is it locally sourced or?
Well, we distribute everything from Dell, Plantronics, Lenovo, so it's all over the world. Most of IT is made in China, so it comes from China to our warehouse, and then we distribute around the UK. So the big footprint of distribution and technology in the UK is quite big. Although saying that though, because of distribution, it's a lot better than it could be if it was all done directly with vendors, if they all had their own separate warehouses. So, you know, distribution's there to reduce those kind of costs. That's everything from everyone. Go.
Oh, I'll give Rob a big hand. I hope this was useful for you guys.
Yeah.
Doing your assignments and also getting an insight in, how corporate world works. I find it a bit disturbing. Such a bad women ratio in your company.
The women ratio is dreadful, absolutely dreadful.
But, so that's another issue that, in terms of.
Yeah, I think they do try. They do try and fix it by hiring, but then they fire them.
I think they need special training or, kind of a different approach to this hire and fire thing, but, never mind.
I think, it is just part of the job. The girls who did